session with a thematic angle, exchanges from implementing multilingual approaches. My name is Joke de Wilde and I'm from the University of Oslo and we'll be chairing this session. We have two papers by two different presenters. The first presenter is Ravinian Chakrakodi, who will be presenting introducing multilingual pedagogy, project experiences and challenges. And you have 20 minutes and then 10 minutes for the Q&A.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yours.
Yeah. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. As you will see from my slide, let me share my slide. I'll make it full screen. Okay, so that's the title of my presentation, Multilingual. But I can't see, just 1 second. And it's about, in this presentation, I'll be sharing my experiences of introducing multilingual pedagogy in English classrooms. So I'll be sharing my experiences and some of the challenges I faced during the implementation of this project. I am Ravi Narayan from the Regional Institute of English, South India, Bangalore. Basically, I'm a teacher educator. So I train in-service teachers working at the primary and secondary schools. You'll just see this image where a primary school teacher is writing the names of birds in different languages. Okay, so let me begin with some background information. English was introduced as a medium of instruction from grade 1, that is, the student's age group is 6 years, in government schools in Karnataka in the year 2019. So some 1,500 schools were converted into English medium schools. They had mother tongue medium alongside English medium, but in 2019, an additional section was introduced and it was called English medium section in 1,500 government schools. And after a gap of 6 months, I visited these schools. And these are my observations on my visit to some of these schools. So most of the children in these schools were engaged in oral repetitions, mass drilling, etc. in many of these English medium sections. I published an article on this. It was published by IAT Phil Conference Elections, where I made a presentation on the first year of introducing English as a medium of instruction. I also observed that children could write their names in English, but surprisingly, they could not do so in their own language, in their mother tongue. And they did not seem to know the meanings of simple words such as in, out, under, above, inside, outside, etc., which were introduced in the lessons, especially in maths and environmental science lessons. These classrooms, for me, my observation, revealed that these classrooms more, by and large, practiced memorization and rote learning. Teachers seem to be struggling to use different techniques, struggling to provide other contextually relevant examples to help children understand important concepts. And when I spoke to these teachers, they said that they themselves studied in mother tongue medium schools, and they're not fluent and proficient in teaching in English as a medium of instruction. So it's also observed that teachers are not exploiting students' mother tongue, or if they come from different linguistic backgrounds, teachers were not sure about using children's mother tongues as a pedagogic resource. They mostly believed in English-only kind of approach, and majority of these English medium sections seem to be resource crunch. No facilities to use audio, video resources, and all that. Right. And in the second year, these schools were called bilingual medium schools. Based on our experience, we submitted a report to the government, and then we said you should call them bilingual medium and make the textbooks bilingual. So maths and environmental science textbooks were made available in 2 languages, in English and Kannada. That is a state language, dominant language in this particular state. But there were no guidelines on how to use bilingual approach in these English medium sections. And interestingly, for English subject, English only approach continued. Hence, we at the Regional Institute of English initiated a project on introducing multilingual approach in the above schools. We wanted to make these classrooms multilingual and help teachers introduce multilingual pedagogy in these bilingual sections. So the project aimed to introduce the concept of multilingual pedagogy to teachers and equip them with the skills and knowledge to develop resources and activities for implementing multilingual teaching approaches in English language classrooms. So in this project, we mainly looked at English classrooms. We didn't really look at maths and environmental science classroom because they were already bilingual. At least textbooks were bilingual. So the project involved a core team, and the focus was on developing teachers' handbook based on the English textbooks, which were titled as Marigold English textbooks. And these were developed by the at the national level by the central government. And in my project, there were 20 participants who were part of this core project group. All of them were primary school teachers with varying degrees of teaching experience. They were teaching in English medium, these bilingual schools, and were familiar with the Marigold textbooks. And the main objective of the project was to develop various resources, print, online, audio and video resources, and a set of activities for the purpose of creating a teacher's handbook for introducing multilingual pedagogy in English classrooms using this Marigold textbooks. The project aimed to use the handbook. The ultimate objective of the project was to help teachers use the teacher's handbook and to familiarize them with the concept of multilingual pedagogy and its significance in English language education, and to help these teachers introduce multilingual pedagogy in their English subject classes. So in addition to training teachers on the multilingual teacher's handbook, observing their classrooms and finding out what changes have taken place, I thought the value of the project could also be assessed by doing a follow-up with the project participants itself. So what I'm talking about is what I did with the project group. And the next phase is, next phase is training teachers using the teacher's handbook. So this presentation is mainly about my project experiences. So I thought it would be useful to examine what the core group, that is these primary school teachers, 20 of them were doing before joining the project, and what they will do or what they have done after the project, and their narratives in understanding the effect of the multilingual approach, their own classroom experiences. It was almost a 1-year project. So we conducted a series of workshops which provided a comprehensive platform for participants to explore and discuss various aspects of implementing a multilingual approach in their classrooms. So the multilingual teacher's handbook and multilingual activities and resources were developed, keeping the pedagogical practices that are effective for teaching young multilingual learners, as suggested by Oliveira and Jones. That was published in 2023. I mainly applied the principles suggested by Oliveira and Jones in their book. And these were some of the principles we adopted in our project: incorporating students' funds of knowledge, utilizing students' L1, and then employing multimodal instruction, and applying a functional approach to language development. These were some of the pedagogic practices that were followed in the preparation of the multilingual handbook for teachers. And these are some of my findings. Yeah, so the data for the study were collected through focus group discussions and interviews. The following questions were used for data collection. I asked these 20 teachers 4 important questions. The first one is, what was your understanding of multilingual approach before joining the project? How did your perceptions, beliefs, or classroom practices change as a result of being involved in the project? What are the salient features of multilingual approach? how do you expect teachers to use the multilingual handbook or resource materials for their empowerment and in their classrooms? So let's look at the first question. What was their understanding of multilingualism before and after joining the project? So participants' initial perceptions of multilingualism actually varied. Majority of the participants had beliefs such as English must only be taught in English. So most of them believed in English only kind of approach. And they thought overuse of home language or home languages can be detrimental to English learning. Code switching negatively impacts language acquisition. Teaching English through other languages is ineffective. These were their perceptions at the initial stages of the workshop. Some of them equated multilingual approach with translation, while others saw multilingualism as challenging. A few were in confusion as to how using other languages will help in acquiring the target language, that is English. However, after participating in the project, their understanding actually evolved. I can actually quote some of the feedback I received, but let me see if there is time, I'll do that. So the project also led to significant shifts in their beliefs and practices. They gained confidence in using multiple languages to teach English, especially in allowing students to express themselves in their mother tongues. While some were already using multilingualism in conversational contexts, the project guided them on effectively integrating it into content transactions. So there were changes not only in their beliefs, but also in their classroom practices. So after 5 or 6 months, this interview was conducted at the end of the project. So the project took almost 1 year, and I gave them 5 to 6 months to implement some of their beliefs in their classrooms. And then I had a discussion with all these 20 teachers. And then they said they had gained confidence in using multiple languages in their classrooms, especially allowing students to express themselves in their mother tongues. And then they also got to know how to effectively integrate multilingual approach into their content transactions. So yeah, so the follow-up was done after a gap of 5 months after the completion of the project. And it revealed that the project has led to significant changes in teaching practices, student engagement, and language usage within and outside the classroom. The following is a summary of what teachers reported during the online interview. First of all, teachers' use of other languages. So teachers reported that they began incorporating languages other than the primary one. That is, dominant language is Kannada, but they've started to use other languages in their classrooms into their teaching methods. A few teachers said they use Tulu, which is a regional language, Malayalam, alongside Kannada to engage with students effectively. And then students' use of other languages. So teachers mentioned that students are using their native languages during lessons, like Tulu, Tamil, Telugu, for example. Most of the classrooms were multilingual classrooms. And students started using their mother tongues during lessons. And teachers further said that students have demonstrated an increased ability to express themselves in various languages, such as Hindi, Urdu, Telugu, Lambanis, and the tribal language, and languages used outside the class. It was also reported by the teachers that students have started using their mother tongues not only within the classroom, but also outside, with their peers and with other teachers. This broader use of languages has facilitated better communication between students and the peer group, and also between students and their teachers. And it has facilitated better understanding among students. So the teacher-pupil relationships have improved. And then using additional resources. Teachers found that the introduction of multilingual reading cards has enabled, these reading cards were prepared as part of the project. So Introducing multilingual reading cards has enabled students to read stories in English and narrate them in their mother tongues. Teachers have utilized the audio resources given in the teacher's handbook to enhance students' language learning. The audios were again bilingual. The summary of the lesson was given in English as well as in Kannada, the dominant language, bilingual. Summaries were bilingual. So teachers started using these audio resources to help students understand the gist of the lesson or the summary of the poem. And shift in approach. So bilingual versus multilingual. Teachers pointed out that the shift from a bilingual approach to a multilingual one has positively impacted students' comprehension and engagement. Teachers' attempts to connect lessons to students' native languages and cultures has made learning more relatable and enjoyable. So this was another objective actually, to bring in students' own cultures, to talk about their festivals, their lifestyles. So teachers slowly started integrating local cultures into the language classrooms. And so they could better relate the coursebook content to students' life experiences. And then parental awareness. A few teachers also shared that parental concerns regarding language barriers have been alleviated, leading to increased student admissions and a more positive outlook. Some of them conducted parent meetings and they talked about multilingual approach in teacher-parent meetings. This was, many parents accepted that it's important, it's necessary to allow students to use their own languages in the classroom. And awareness among colleagues and school staff. A few teachers were also successful in making their colleagues, head teachers, and the supervisory staff become aware of the benefits of the multilingual project. So I'm really happy that they started talking about it with their colleagues, with the head teachers and visitors, some officers who come for classroom observation. And just one or two concerns that I have. One is a few teachers wanted to know how long they should continue the multilingual approach in their classrooms. Like, initially, as part of the project, we prepared materials for grades 1 to 5, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they said, should we continue to use this approach in grade 6 as well? Or should we stop with multilingual approach in grade 5? So this was interesting. Should we continue? And then they were not sure whether they should continue with this approach from grade 6 or whether it is limited to grades 1 to 5. And one of the participants said that a borderline or a limit should be fixed to the quantity of using mother tongue in the classroom process. It should not be a license to all the teachers and trainers to teach English only through mother tongue or mother tongues. So these were some of the interesting questions that they raised. They also expressed some of their concerns, such as non-availability of multilingual teachers. So this was one important issue. Teachers do not know students' mother tongues. For example, Tamil, teacher knows English and Kannada, but not Tamil, not Malayalam, right? So non-availability of, some of these questions were answered, but then again, these are, when we train teachers, we'll face these questions. Should teachers know students' mother tongues? And then limited resources to support multilingual education. Insufficient professional training for teachers in multilingual pedagogy. So these were some of their concerns. And then I also wanted
a couple of more minutes and then it's
that's
20.
right. Thank you. And I also wanted to develop some principles or features of multilingual approach based on this project. So I was trying to identify some of the key features of multilingual pedagogy. And this is what I was able to develop a set of principles. Using multiple languages to achieve the target language. These are some of the key features. Developing multiliteracies. Connecting students' existing knowledge to the target language. Enhancing cultural awareness and knowledge. Developing cultural competence. Emphasizing the ability to navigate diverse cultural contexts. Encouraging students with varying language proficiency to contribute ideas. And empowering teachers with greater confidence in transacting content and supporting diverse students. However, it is challenging to identify some of the fundamental principles that might help in developing a multilingual approach and guide other teachers who are thinking about teaching English in multilingual classrooms. So I was very interested to, develop a framework, think of some fundamental principles, but I think it takes some time to evolve this. So that's all from my side. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravin Nargan.
Thank you.
Questions and comments to this very interesting presentation. Anja.
Thank you. As you said, Yuke, it was really interesting to hear about your work and such a massive work that it must have been in order to gather these teachers and carry out the workshops and to implement this framework. And of course, really impressed with the results that you have, that we kind of know as researchers that multilingualism is beneficial, but it's really nice to see it carried out in practice and to see such great results that you got. I was wondering if would you be able to get funding to kind of continue this work, because it seems really important that it should be continued. Do you think that would be possible?
It was a funded project. Was funded by the state government. We got some additional funds for the project. And for the next phase, we really need funds for training teachers. The teacher's handbook is ready. We'll have to train teachers teaching in these English medium sections of government schools. So I think it's very important and necessary to get some funds. Yeah.
Thank you. Robin?
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you so much for that very interesting presentation. And I also just want to echo, it seems like you've done so much work, which is wonderful. My question was about the term you used to describe the medium. You used a bilingual medium, which I find fascinating because here in South Africa, we are grappling with the terms that we give to different models. And so I'm interested, could you talk a little bit about how that term came into being? It seems so inclusive and it allows you to expand beyond only 2 languages. So if you could say a bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So initially, when English was introduced as a medium of instruction in 1,500 government schools, these were pure English medium schools. That was the idea of the government, because there were parental pressures, expectations to introduce English medium. And then, so based on their first year's experience, based on our report, studies, we submitted a report to the government. We said English medium doesn't really work, especially with children coming from disadvantaged sections of the society. So in the second year, we called it bilingual medium. But unfortunately, we were not, the government was not able to develop guidelines for implementing bilingual approach. They were just called bilingual, and the textbooks, core subjects, maths and science textbooks were made available in both the languages. There was almost one-to-one translation of the content in environmental science textbook and in maths textbook. So that was only kind of support teachers got. In the first year, it was the resources, textbooks were purely in English. But in the second year, they were made available in 2 languages. So otherwise, teachers were not trained in implementing bilingual medium. And then we thought this is an opportunity for us to develop multilingual framework and then maybe train teachers and introduce multilingual approach. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I have a question about the teacher handbooks.
Yeah.
We all know that when we make, for example, multilingual materials available, teachers may not know how to use them. So I'm very interested in how you worked with the teachers in the workshops. But do you think that the handbook is written or made in that way that teachers everywhere could start using it? Or is it very much dependent that you train them and have them take this mind shift to a more multilingual approach?
Yeah. I think it's a very good question. The handbook was made available in the printed form. So we could print a couple of copies. And I think these handbooks will be used in the training programs, without which it may be difficult for teachers to understand the concept. I mean, what is multilingual pedagogy? What are the principles? And then a few activities. And we also have audio video resources. So it's not just a printed version. We have lots of audio resources on each of the lessons and also videos. And we have given links wherever there are good materials available related to the topics. And I don't think without a training program, teachers will be able to use the handbook. Maybe at least a 2-day or a 3-day orientation will help them in understanding the approach and implementing it in the real sense. And then maybe a follow-up, not just training and leaving, but a follow-up as to what they have done after the training, how was their experience. That kind of follow-up is also very important, I think.
Thank you. Espen?
Thank you. I was wondering, kind of following up on Yoke's question, actually, I was wondering about these materials that you mentioned, you know, videos, audio, handbooks, etc. Are these materials available under an open license or online, or are they basically just internally for this project and, you know, locked in its own ecosystem or something?
I mean, as of now, it is used for internal purposes. We are planning to use it for our own training programs and making them available to the larger public. I think it won't be of much use because it's all in some of the Indian languages, like, as I said, Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, and then a few multilingual activities as icebreakers or activities related to the lesson content. So we have not made it available to the public as of now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? We have a few more minutes. Anja, you go.
Yeah, I know it's a bit beyond the scope of your project, but I noticed that you pointed to how beneficial these activities were for students. Have you had any thoughts about how to kind of investigate this among the students more directly as a target group?
Right.
Of course, it would just be adding, more to an already massive project, but it would be so nice to know more about that, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, very interesting question. I mean, when we made a presentation to our commissioner of school education, this is exactly what she said. Okay, I know it helps teachers, but tell me how it helps students. How does it help students in learning English? So do you have any evidence? What is the experience? She asked. So we said, yeah, of course, allowing students to use their languages. I mean, that should be the starting point, right? And then they start learning equivalent words in English, sentences, start speaking at least. So they develop confidence. Yeah, it will be very interesting to look at this, to study this aspect as well. The impact on students, how they're, I don't know what should be the focus, whether students are learning other languages or how is it helping them to learn English, right? I think, yeah. So any ideas on that?
Espen?
Yeah.
Just a quick follow-up. You said it started in 2019. It's been 4 or 5 years now. Have you had any kind of assessment, whether it's exams or any kind of quantitative data on this, which would be a starting point, I guess?
Yeah, right. Yes. So I published one report. I made a presentation about this bilingual sections in the IATFL conference, but then data is available at the school level with the department, like formative, summative assessments they conduct. But then when these children move on to grade 6 next year, we'll be training those teachers, not in multilingual pedagogy, it's a general kind of training, introducing them to the grade 6 syllabus, course books. That training we do every year. So there we look at the progress made by children. What is the progress? So when we do the training for grade 6 teachers, we'll be looking at grade 5 students. What is the status? What is their level as of now? And from there, we move on to grade 6 learning outcomes. But formal study has not been done. We don't have any study available to us, actually. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for this wonderful presentation and good luck with all your plans.
Thank you. Thank you
Um,
so much. Yeah.
We would like to hear more in 3 years' time at the next MOM conference. Maybe you can give us an update.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Great. Then we move on to the next presentation, which is a presentation from Norway called Multilingualism and Plurilingualism in Beginner Textbooks in Foreign Language Subjects. And Anje Müller-Gjesdal will be presenting on behalf of herself and colleagues. The floor is yours.
Can I stop recording? Can I stop recording?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.